welcome to Artistic Adventures. This is part 6 of our Cleopatra doll project, and it is the final video where we finish the costume and everything else. So let's get into it. So here's our doll at this point. We have the dress and a few other things done. So we're going to start doing some embellishments. I took some of that pretty, I don't know, teal kind of color material that's iridescent, and I glued two pieces together in this shape. And that's going to be sort of that banner thing that hangs down in the front. And now I'm just taking a ball pointed pointer thing. Yeah, that's my technical term. And using it to put some gold paint and make some little dots down the side. I like to make little dots on things. I don't know why, but I just think it becomes very decorative at some point. And I like using this ball pointed thing instead of a paintbrush because it's so much more precise and makes nice little dots. So I went down each side and across the bottom with that. And now I'm sitting there thinking, oh, well, now that paint's wet, so I pretty much have to let that dry and work on something else, right? That sort of spoiled my plan for working on that. I was going to start in the middle. All right, so instead we're going to work on this sash that's going to go around her. That's going to be made out of this gold lame material. And I want it to gather up on the sides and meet up near the waist for the look, that I've seen in in pictures. So right now what I'm doing is taking this piece of fabric and I'm sort of gathering it up to the shape that I want it in the back. And then I'm going to trim it off and hope that that works. See how this is an adventure? Yep, that's how I roll. No patterns for me. I don't know. This is just the way I've always done things. So anyway, I've gathered it up there to where it's fairly even. And now I'm going to cut it off, leaving enough so I can make a hem. Now, of course, it's sort of be jagged. So after I take it off of her, I'm going to fold it in half to make it symmetrical and lay it down and look at the edges, and naturally there's some jagged edges, so I'm going to cut those off. And this is going to be hopefully the gold sash. Yeah, that's hopefully going to work. So first thing I'm going to do is drag out the sewing machine and put a hem all the way around all four sides so it has a nice finish. I've been having issues ever since I broke the power cord. It's not the power cord. It's the cord to the foot pedal. I think I've been saying presser foot. It's the foot pedal. So where I broke it off, it fell into the machine. So I had to open up the machine and glue that piece back so that I could plug the new cord that I got in it. All right, so now that I have this piece hemmed, I'm going to go down each side at the very edge and run a gathering seam. And the reason I'm doing this is I want the gathers to be even. I don't want to do it by hand, just bunching it up. I want it to be even and look nice. So I'm hoping that putting these gathering threads in will work. So I've got that piece done now, but I can't really put it on the doll until after I finish the banner piece that's going to go down the center because it's going to basically go on top of it. So we're going to set that aside, not do the gathers yet. And this is dry now with the gold paint, so I'm going to use up a marker pen to outline an Ankh symbol, which is supposedly the symbol of life, right? So I outlined it and decided that what I'm going to do is go ahead and fill it in with black, and then I'm going to go back later and put some gold sort of in the center to make it stand out more. This material is really shiny, and sometimes you can't see things on it because it's so shiny. But the gold stands out really well, I guess, because it's shiny too. All right, so now I'm going to take some other colors, and I'm going to sort of stay within the range that we've been using, the green, the blue, the black, the gold. And I'm going to start with the blue. I'm just putting little, sort of like a dash mark, and then I'll leave a space, and then I do another dash mark. And I do that all the way down the side with the blue paint. And across the bottom, I actually left that open because I'm going to actually paint a solid piece across there. So I went ahead and went all the way up the side. Then I did the blue, straight blue bar across the bottom as straight as I can with my hand. Still shaky. Now I'm going back in between the blue bars and putting green bars. I don't know. This is not really like a design I've seen. It's just something that I feel like I wanted to do. So it makes me feel like it's Egyptian. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I made a green bar and now I'm making a black bar and then a gold bar under that. And now I'm going to go back in, as I said, and do a gold symbol inside the black symbol of the Ankh. I was going to do a scarab, but I thought it was a little too busy for such a small thing. Could have done that. And I'm just putting some dot designs up the top, sort of in an arrow shape, and then I put a straight stripe up the top, and then an arch of dots over the Ankh. And that's my version of a sash banner for this queen. So we have to let that dry. And I'll tell you that I thought it was dry at one point and I put my hand on it and the black was not dry. And I got it on my finger and then I got it on her dress. Yeah, the white side. And I had to wash it off. So that went on all before this started. That was an adventure on the side that you didn't see. So now that this is actually really dry, I'm going to glue it up to the top of her waist, right at the waist. And then we can put that gold sash around her because that's going to come up around the sides and over the top of this at the waist. I love it at this point because all these pieces are starting to come together. This is my favorite part of any project. It's when, like, I've done all these different pieces and everything's starting to, I'm starting to be able to put them all in place. So now I'm gathering up the side of the one side of the gold sash, and on the end that I'm not pulling together, I'm going to tie it in a knot. And that's so that I can pull that as tight as I want and it's not going to completely pull the thread through. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. I'm just sort of blocking that end off so I can pull the gather as tight as I want because I want it to be very gathered. And I do the same thing on the other side, tying off the end that I'm not pulling. And that way I can pull it really tight and make that little scoop looking thing for her bottom, I guess. And then we're going to pull the edges up and then they're going to meet over top of that teal sash. And at this point, because I've got it pulled as tight as I can, I'm going to also go ahead and tie off the gathering threads that I pulled so that it can't come loose while I'm sewing it by hand. So what I'm going to do is pull it together and get some gold. Well, it's really like a golden yellow, but gold colored thread. And I'm just going to start at the top, pulling the sides together, and then sew it all the way down, sew the gathers all the way down the front. I kind of had to get her in a different position. I don't know, I was having trouble getting her in the right position to sew it. But anyway, so basically just sewing it all the way down. I'm pulling up the gathers so that they meet across her abdomen, I guess is the best way to describe it. And I actually went over it twice because I just wanted to make sure it was nice and tightly pulled together. And then I tied a knot, and that's the finished product, front and back. I think that turned out nice. I like the way the gathers are nice and even. That's the reason I wanted to do those. Now I have this earring that I took off of the post part of it, and I want to put that in the middle because it's a scarab and also it's nice color. But it has that loop at the top, and I want to get rid of that. So all I did was take some pliers and bend it, and that material, that metal material it's made out of is so soft, it just bent right off. It was really nice. Now we're going to use more glue, and we're going to glue the scarab piece to the front right over those gathers of the gold material. And the part that I cut, I'm putting down just so, because it actually, when I used the fingernail file to file off the rough edges or the sharp edges, and it was a little bit more silver than gold. All right, now this I've been working on all week because these little braids took forever to do. So I saved the last one just to show you how I did it. So you'll know how I did it. And I'm going to go through part of this slower than others. Right now I'm just braiding that last piece together. All right, I got it down a little bit longer than I want it, and I'm holding the edges, and I put the E6000 on my forefinger and thumb, and then I press it into the braid at the end. And like I said, it's a little bit longer than I want it to be because I'm going to cut it off, and I don't want to be, I want to have a little extra, in other words, so that when I cut it, I'm cutting the braid and not the loose ends. And I had to kind of hold that for a little bit until the glue set enough that I could move around and tie this thread. I've got this thread attached to a needle, and what I'm going to do is tie this around the very end, right above where I'm going to cut it, because we've got to put beads on the end of the hair braid. All right, there may be other ways to do this. This is just how I ended up doing it. All right, so I put 3 knots in it, put a little dab of glue over the knot, and then after that dried just a little bit, I'm going to trim off that one side that's not attached to the needle. And so you can see I have the braid, and then it's tied, and then it's not braided. So I'm going to cut off right below where I tied the thread, trying not to cut the thread. But guess what I did? I cut the thread. I only cut one of them, though, so it wasn't a disaster. It was a small adventure, not a big adventure. So instead of having 2 threads to finish it, I'm just going to use one because I think it'll be fine. So you don't want to pull on that too much. It would probably pull off, even though I've got some glue on it. The glue has not completely set. It's dry to the touch, but it's not completely set. So now I'm going to take the beads that I'm using, and I'm just going to take the first one first because the thread is coming off the side of the braid, and I want it to be centered on the bottom of the braid. And I just had to trim off just a little bit more, and I think that was when I cut the thread. Yeah, right there. I think you can see. Yeah, see, I cut the one of the 2 threads. But that's okay. That's okay. We can make it work. So like what I'm doing here is I'm putting a little bit of glue on the very end of that braid because I want to position this gold bead at the bottom of it. I don't want it to fall off to the side just because the thread is coming off the side. So I push that down, and then I center that on the bottom of the braid. And then I just am going to hold it and let that dry before I put any of the other beads on. If you just string it, then the beads are going to hang off to the side of the end, and it doesn't look right. And I'm just trimming off the end of that thread that I cut there. And I just want to let that set a little bit so that it's going to stay in place. And then I'm going to put the other beads on that I'm using. I'm using a total of 3 gold beads and then a sort of long, oblong shaped black iridescent bead, and then a sort of gray iridescent bead on the bottom. And then I take a little bit of glue on the end of my needle and put it just at the end of the thread and that bead to stabilize that so it doesn't move around while I'm trying to tie a knot in the end around the bead. I learned a lot as I was doing this. So you're seeing me do it after I've done, what, I don't know, 15, 10, I don't know how many there are, but when I first started doing it and I was trying to tie the knot, that gray bead would slip down and I would tie the knot, and I had this huge gap between the beads. So I started putting that glue on it, and that helped it a lot. So now what I'm doing is I want to tie a knot just above the gray bead. So it'll be between the gray bead and the long black bead. So I'm positioning the thread underneath it, and then I just go through the loop, just like you were tying a knot. And you can't see a thing because my hand's there, but I'm describing it to you, and it's just the only way I could do it. But you can see that the knot is just above the gray bead. So you just make a loop, put the needle through it, and then pull it. And actually that broke on the last one, so I'll just go ahead and put a little dab of glue on that knot right between the black and the gray bead to hold it, make sure it's secure, and that's it. Our headpiece is finished. Now you can see that even though I used quite a bit of hair, it's not, because the braids are done on this tiny scale, they're not that close together, but they look okay when it's placed over the wig itself. If you wanted to try to make more braids to fill in the gaps in between, you'd have to add more hair. That would be a real pain. But anyway, I think it turned out nice, and trimming the inside of that cobra crown helped make it fit a whole lot better. So I have to just take a break here, and now that she's got the crown on, and try out the flail and the crook. Who was it that found that? Was it Nancy? I can't remember. Somebody put a message on the comments that those things that I was calling the hook and the, I don't know what I was calling them, the scepter or whatever. They're called the hook and the flail. The crook and the flail. And they have symbolism of, like, the hook is like a shepherd, so it's like the ruler is, the guardian of the people, and then the flail is a sign of authority. And as you can see, Cleopatra is not cooperating with me here. Okay, so I finally kind of got them crossed in her arms a little bit. I was trying to make it look a little bit more like you see them, but of course she can't grasp them, which is what they would be doing in the pictures that you see. They grasp the bottom of the things and then cross them over their chest. And I don't have a throne, but I had this little wicker chair. It came with a bunny in it. But right now it's Cleopatra's throne. So, okay, that's about as close as I think we can get. But I like it. I think it turned out really nice. I just had to take a break and do that. All right, we got a couple more things to do here. First of all, I think queens have to have a long trailing robe or cape. I guess it's a cape. I'm not sure. What is that called? Anyway, I'm just, eyeballing it as usual. And then I fold it over to make sure that I get it symmetrical, because it's usually not. But I got the right length. I want it to trail out behind her, and I want the top to be so that it droops down a little bit in the back. I'm going to attach it to that collar that she has. So right now what I'm doing is just going in and putting a small hem around on all four edges, all four sides, just to give it a nice look. Just make sure that you don't pull this material as you're hemming it, or it'll make it pucker up and the hem will want to turn onto the outside. This is just some chiffon that I had. Could use a scarf, like if you had a scarf or found one at a thrift store. All right, so I'm getting ready. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do this. I have my pins ready just in case. Although these pins are always hard to get out of this thing. I really need something that is a little more conducive, but I had that little tin, and I said, that's great for pins. All right, so I want to attach this up here, and I want it to sort of drape down in the back. So I'm going to put it up underneath the collar at the shoulders. Now I want to be careful because I don't want the glue to get into the joint of the doll. So I'm going to put the glue on top of the blue fabric at the corner. Put a little glob up there. And then I'm going to use my pointy tool to go underneath it and press it up under the collar at the shoulder and try and make sure that I don't get it into the shoulder joint of the doll. Otherwise, she won't move. Because E6000 is good stuff, right? So I had to hold that for a minute or so till it set. And by the magic of editing, you didn't have to sit through that. So I'm turning her over now. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Put a little glob up at that corner and then use my pointy tool to press it up underneath the collar, keeping it away from the joint. And I cut here, and you don't see it, but I did her eyelashes off camera. There you can see them. Because I hate doing them on camera because that's really hard to do for me. So she's got some eyelashes on. That gives her a little bit more sultry look. I love how her face turned out. I really like it. And remember, we did do those earrings, although they never show. I really like them. I think they're so cool. It's too bad they don't show. But we know they're there, right? So we got that. We got her face. We did the collar. Nice wig. Beautiful wig. I love how the wig turned out. I think it turned out really nice. And I like the effect with putting the crown on. And she's got her little bob haircut. We have the scarab on the gold sash. We have the armband with the crystals. Oh, and I did put a ring on one finger. And, of course, her nice shoes that we painted gold and then applied that crystal. So I'm going to back out here and put her on her doll stand. Put her crown back on her. And then I'm going to do some still pictures so you can get some nice shots. But I like the way the cape trails around and you can kind of bullet around behind her. I'm not going to try to make her hold the flail and the crook right now. Although I did get her to do it in one of the still pictures. So there she is, our final Queen Cleopatra. I really love how she turned out. I think she's so beautiful. I really think that my favorite way of doing things now is to use the Liquitex matte medium as the base and draw on because it seems to work better to accept the color, and then to use the Mr. Super Clear spray as the final finish because you cannot beat that matte finish that it produces. It's really beautiful, but I really didn't like the way it worked using it with it to put the color down on. Maybe, other people like it. I like the Liquitex better. So that's going to be my thing from now on, I think. Getting this doll ready. I'm going to put up some pictures on my Etsy site, and she is going to be for sale. I may not get the link up tonight, but I'll put the link up probably tomorrow, or if you know where my shop is, you can check it out. I've already sold Queen Elizabeth and Marie Antoinette, so I guess this queen will go too. Everybody likes queens for some reason. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. It was kind of a long process, but there were a lot of pieces to this costume and for the doll, so I wanted to, make sure she had all her queenly implements. And there's her crook and flail in her arms. I think she actually holds them better like that than sitting. And then one final view of the full picture. And that's the end of the Cleopatra project. If you liked it, give me a big thumbs up. We have other exciting things coming. If you haven't already, make sure and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Thanks, and bye.